You're listening to Hearing the Silence of a Convicted Mind. I'm Chameleon. I don't chase noise, I study silence. Let's listen carefully. The case was closed. The sentence was final. But the language didn't stop. When a convicted mind speaks, most people listen for regret. I listen for rehearsal. Some questions are questions, some are commands disguised. This episode is about the second kind. Short, controlled, unsettling. Context. The voice I reviewed is a fictional composite drawn from multiple recordings, anonymized, and reassembled to demonstrate pattern, not to identify a person. He is a mid-level organizer convicted on conspiracy and coercion charges. Sentence imposed. Appeals exhausted. Calls recorded as standard procedure. Why review the calls? Because I look for residual strategy, the small structures of speech that outlive freedom. What felt off in this set was simple, the frequency of questions that required nothing and everything of the listener. Analysis A, the language shift. He wasn't speaking in past tense. He was rehearsing possibility. The pattern appears in 3 markers: repetition, tag questions, and future-oriented framing. Repetition. The same query returns with small variation. You still there? Becomes, you still there, right? Then, you still there tomorrow? Each repetition tightens expectation. It primes a response, and then another. Tag questions, you'll handle that, aren't you? The tag removes choice. The interrogative form masks the imperative. It sounds like checking. It functions like assigning. Future-oriented phrasing. Can we set it up for next week versus set it up next week? Framed as an inquiry, obligation is deferred but tacitly preserved. The listener becomes the co-author of next steps. That move preserves agency on paper while shifting responsibility in practice. Analysis B, the silence. This is where most listeners misread the tape. They hear pause and expect confusion. I hear a timed space, an engineered gap. Silence has patterns. Pay attention to the pause before the keyword, not just after the question. A brief inhale, a held syllable. That micro-timing calibrates the listener's anxiety. It expands the response window until the other party feels it, often with compliance. Breath changes are data. A flat, even delivery around sensitive parts signals emotional containment, not absence of feeling controlled affect. The effect, pressure without aggression. The listener supplies the motion. Repeat, silence has patterns. The pause becomes a lever. It shapes the answer more than the words do. Analysis C, the manipulation. Here is the practical sequence I traced. Compliance testing, small requests, incremental commitments. A test question. You still talk to Joe? Not a request for information. A probe to see if lines are open. If answered, it confirms access. If hedged, it reveals distance. The question maps networks. A small embedded request. Can you drop by if you can? Just to check on that. The conditional softens responsibility, but the clause just to check minimizes the ask. It's easier to comply than refuse. Each small compliance legitimizes larger asks later. Incremental commitment. Mornings escalate to logistics. Logistics escalate to favors. Favors escalate to influence. Questions scaffold obligation, because saying yes to a question feels voluntary even when it locks you in. Escalation insight. Zoom out. Conviction doesn't end cognition. Incarceration restricts movement, not strategy. Language becomes a vehicle for adaptability. Questioning preserves option structures. It routes influence through proxies. It looks like conversation. It functions like architecture. The confined voice reshapes the field by shaping responses, one question at a time. This is low visibility strategy. It survives monitoring because it hides in ordinary forms. Curiosity, concern, clarification, that ordinary cover is the danger. The chilling realization. Maybe he wasn't reacting. Maybe he planned for this phase. Maybe the questions were prepositioned, each one an opening already measured for response. Think about that. Short sentences. Let it sit. The implication is structural, not personal. Strategy persists when movement is constrained. Controlled close. Conviction closes cases. It doesn't always close patterns. Silence has patterns. If this episode changed how you hear a question, subscribe for more analysis. We'll keep listening. We'll keep parsing. We'll keep showing how small language moves carry strategic weight. Is the truth in what is said? Listen carefully. Silence always says something. You heard what I heard. I'll be here next time. Outro. Incarceration restricts movement. It does not restrict cognition. Some minds adapt. That's what I heard.
They call it manipulation. Sometimes it's adaptation to constant observation. Because when you know someone's always listening, you learn how to speak without saying everything.